thank you for tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming at you with another video review, but I'm doing things a little bit differently this time. This is the very first time that I've decided to do this, and I hope it comes across fairly well. I've decided to review a comic book series, which I'm a huge fan of. Excuse me. And, whoops. Drop something. And that is this. Now, you may not necessarily know what this symbol represents. Back in the early part of the 1990s, I believe it was, there was a lot of turmoil in terms of things that were happening in terms of comic books. Superman had died, and that really threw everybody for a loop. Also around the same time, Batman tragically had his back broken. Now, this all came in what is known as the Knightfall series. Knightfall, Knightquest, and Knight's End was big conglomeration of every Batman comic book that was out there. It went through the Detective Comics, regular Batman, Catwoman, Robin. I mean, it encompassed every Shadow of the Bat. It encompassed every Batman comic that's possible. And in this series, we actually got, and I'm going to review this, and I'm doing a little bit of a different style. This guy right here, we see the creation of what I consider to be Batman's biggest nemesis. Now, some people are going to say Joker is huge and stuff, but this guy beat Batman. Beat him to a pulp. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you kind of a character bio, and in doing so, tell you a little bit about Bane himself. I don't like the way the cartoons portray Bane, or the movie versions. In the cartoons and in the movies, he's portrayed as being kind of an assassin, and that's completely not the way he is. In the comic books, we find out that Bane, from birth, literally from birth, was imprisoned. He was born in prison. His mom was pregnant, and he grew up in this jail in, I believe it was a Caribbean island, Santa Clarita or something like that, but it was a Caribbean island. And while his mother was alive and he was born, he enjoyed a very privileged life. He was very taken care of. When his mother died, however, the warden, who seemed to really resent Bane, decided to say, you know what? No more coddling of this guy. We're going to take him and we're going to throw him to the wolves, and we're going to see how he does. He really didn't like Bane at all. So he pretty much tried to break him and tried to end his life at this point in time. As Bane got older and, developed into, roughly around the preteen area of life, he had this little teddy bear that it's kind of funny. He had this little teddy bear, and some of the figures for Bane have actually included this teddy bear figure. This guy's just massive, huge. I mean, he's huge. Love this guy. This one didn't come with the teddy bear, unfortunately. But during this scrum, when finally he was thrown into the normal cells, he made friends and he made some enemies. Now he's a little boy in prison. Now what happens with prison? And you get. It's not good. This one guy decided to try to take Bane and have his way with him. Well, there was this scrum that ensued, and through this whole thing, the teddy bear got knocked over a upper level, and Bane, as a child, went after it, trying to save his little teddy bear. He missed. Well, he didn't miss. He fell all the way down and went into a coma. While he was in this coma, he had visions of his father, whom he never met, and it was at this time that his father sat there and said, you must conquer all of your fears. You must conquer everything. Everything that stands in your way, you must conquer it. And for some reason, fear and failure, everything manifested itself in the form of a bat. And who knows why? I mean, well, obviously so they can sell comic books in the world of Batman. When he came to, and after a very long time, I'm not exactly sure, I don't remember how long, but it was quite a while, he woke up to go back to his jail cell, and the guy who had initiated this fight was there again. Bane decided he must beat him. He's fear. He must conquer his enemies. And he went nuts. And he ended up, I think he ended up killing him. I haven't read this in a long time, so I'm trying to remember. Pretty much he went nuts on the guy. And the warden decided, you know what? That's enough of this guy. He's going into solitary confinement until he's an adult. And this is a little boy, teenager, 13 or something. So he was in solitary confinement for a very long time. And while he was in there, it was terrible. I mean, they never gave him food, nothing. It was below sea level. So every night the water would come in, and he would have to hang on to a grate above. He would have to hang on for dear life. Otherwise, he would die. So he survived all of that. So years later, he comes out a strong man, very, very determined, and made more friends. And at this point in time, he's a legend. The entire prison knows about him. Prison knows who he is, and he's a legend. And he comes out and he decides to pretty much take over the entire prison. Slowly, he progresses, and he becomes what is very much like a godfather in the mob version. This is why I don't like the way really, or the movies really portray him, because he's not an assassin. He's a mob boss for the most part. Takes over the prison, decides to become stronger, and at this time, the inmates are tested on with venom. Now, everybody knows about venom and all that fantastic stuff, so he decides to use this. He's gonna use it, and he's gonna become more powerful. He has to become stronger. He must defeat everything. And fakes pretty much, you know, I mean, the warden knows him and says, you know what, I don't like this guy. How about we use him? And Bane's like, yeah, sure, I'll go along with it. Why not? Through this whole process, he develops this, you know, this liking for venom, but he decides to fake his own death. Through his incarceration, he learned meditation and things to control his mind. And once he was out, he also became very intelligent. Hugely intelligent man. Strategist. He knows everything. He speaks 7 languages. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. This guy is brilliant. Really is. Mastermind. Now, when he is finally tested on, like I said, he lowers his vitals so that they think he's dead. So they're going to get away. They're going to do away with his dead body. But when he does that, he breaks free. And when he does that, he doesn't run away. He doesn't escape to somewhere. He goes back into the prison on his own terms. Obliterates everything. He just goes nuts. Beats the warden to death, you know, all that fantastic stuff. He had made some friends while in jail. I don't remember their names or anything of that nature, but they said, you know, what is the next big thing, you know, and one of the guys said, well, hey, you know, there's Gotham City. And he's like, who is in charge of Gotham City? And he pretty much says, the Batman. Now, this makes him go nuts, and Bane decides, I need to destroy Bat. And when he gets to Gotham City, it's fantastic. Batman Bruce Wayne was already, for some reason, not feeling too well. He had some kind of virus or something of that nature, and Bane very, very smartly decides, I need to break not only his body, but also his spirit, break his mind. So he starts playing these games and releases a lot of criminals. Eventually blows a huge hole in Arkham Asylum, allowing all the crazies, Two-Face, Joker, Zaz, all these terrible villains are released, and Batman and Robin have to try to fight this. Now Batman is very, you know, I gotta do this myself, and Robin is kind of like, well, let me help you, Batman, I can help you. But Batman doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He feels he failed to stop some of the villains before, and they got loose, and he really feels he failed. And through this entire process, it's a failure thing. He keeps driving himself because he doesn't want to fail. But after all this time, battling all these villains through many comic books, Bane just sits there and watches. Batman and Robin become aware of Bane. They don't know much about him. They're like, what is this weirdo doing? And basically, Bane is just sitting back, letting all this stuff happen, because he wants to not only break Batman's mind, but he also wants to break his spirit and his body. And he's seen his body, and as it progresses, his body is getting worse and worse, and he's being very lucky to escape some of these situations. Bane actually figures out, he is so smart, he intimately becomes aware of Batman. He knows everything about Batman, and finds out and discovers Batman is Bruce Wayne. There was a time where Azrael, who is Jean-Paul Valley, where we'll get into that in a later review, but Valley dresses up as Batman one time and confronts him, and Bane realizes that isn't actually Batman. That's not Bruce Wayne as Batman. So he passes him by. This proceeds to piss off Jean-Paul like you wouldn't believe, and this drives him later on. And I'll get to that later because I'm just concentrating on this guy. Eventually, towards the end of towards Knightfall, he decides it's time to confront Batman on his own terms. So what does he do? He breaks into Wayne Manor, where Bane knows Batman is very vulnerable because it's his home. It's not out on the streets. It's not under darkness. It's very intimate. And by this point in time, Bruce has no ability to defend himself. And Bane just completely obliterates him, to the point where he grabs Batman, holds him high above his head, and smashes him down across his knee, shattering his back. And Batman is broken. And Bane takes his lifeless body, throws it down into the streets of Gotham, and said, "Here is your protector, Iron Man." Blah blah blah. Bruce is then out of the picture. picture, and Jean-Paul Valley takes over as Batman, and he goes nuts, wants to go after Bane, even though Bruce Wayne specifically. Luckily, Bruce survives all of this, and like I said, we'll get into that a little bit later. He does survive all this, and he appoints Valley as his stand-in for the time being, with Robin's help. During this entire time, he specifically says, do not go after Bane, but Bane pissed off Valley by ignoring him, treating him like he was nothing. So, Valley decides to completely revamp things, and I'll show you this, and we'll get to this. Like I said, this is another gorgeous figure. I'm loving this thing. We'll get to this in a little bit. He decides he needs to beat Bane. Not only beat him, but destroy him, because he destroyed, or he passed him off. And so that's pretty much the story of him. And he does, and Valley does beat Bane. Believe it or not, he does break him. And it's because of Valley's training in the system, which again we'll get to. And I really firmly believe the only way that Bane could have ever been beaten, Bruce Wayne could never have beaten him, because he wouldn't kill. He wouldn't get vicious with him. I really believe that the Jean-Paul Valley character was the only one that really could do it. So now so that's kind of the character bio of this guy, and I love the way the comic book portray him so much better than the actual, like I said, the movies, who portray him to be kind of a dumb, mindless zombie, and some of the cartoons which portray him to be an assassin, which I don't like, because he's not an assassin. He was a mob boss. So that's it for that. Now I'm going to actually give you kind of a video review on this actual figure, so let's get that started. Okay, so here's the Bane figure, and it comes, this is actually an older, I'm trying to see, I don't see a year on here, but these figures, these were released a few years ago by DC Direct, and it's the DC Direct Knightfall series, which you can't see, but there's the DC Direct Knightfall, and it was Bane, and as you can see, I busted this guy open. And here are the other figures that are in the line. We have the Mask of Tengu Batman, which actually is Bruce Wayne, and we'll get to that. Azrael or Jean-Paul Valley as Batman, Nightwing, Bane, and there's the 1990s Catwoman. I'm actually kind of excited about that, because I had a huge crush on her, which is kind of weird, but whatever. That was creepy. But this is a really nice packaging. This guy, he is massive. As for a size comparison, I'll use a Transformer. This is Deluxe Class. Deluxe Class Hound. You can see that, look how big this guy is. Here's Human Alliance Bumblebee. He's actually taller than Bumblebee is. So that tells you how massive. It's an absolutely gorgeous sculpt on here. Now, first off, he comes with a stand. This is the Knightfall symbol. It's representative of the bat signal, but got shattered because Batman got shattered. So there's that. He comes with pegs that you can plug in. He comes with two of these little guys that plug into the holes on here. And this is just a gorgeous figure. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. This is the way the comic book version looked, and as you can see, he's got a nice soft rubber tube that goes from the back of his head to this arm thing, which activated the Venom surge. And just look at the musculature on him. This guy is gorgeous. Nice belt, and there's his legs. Now, in terms of articulation, his head, you know, you can go from side to side. It's kind of on a ball joint, so you can get a little bit of posability, but you don't want to go too much, because obviously this is connected to it. His arms, again, you don't want to do too much, because it's connected, but it is, like I said, a soft rubber, so you can get it all the way up. Pretty nice. I mean, you can't go 360 because that'll snap it. But so, in and out, he bends at the elbow and he rotates. I mean, just look at the massive size of his hands. You got fingernails and everything on this. I mean, just gorgeous. Nice detail on here. He doesn't, I don't think he doesn't bend at or rotate at the waist. Back and forth at the legs, that's all that does. Bend at the knee, and he's got pivot on his foot. So this thing, I wish they made the Doomsday figure from Superman in this, because look at this. Here's my Doomsday figure. Which one looks more menacing? He's ugly, but this thing, he comes up to his pecs. It's unbelievable how massive this guy is, and he's gorgeously detailed. I mean, even around to the back. I mean, if you look, zoom in, I mean, just look at the back, and there's the back of his neck. This is just an absolutely gorgeous figure, and massive and scary. Now, like I said, they are older, and you can plug, like I said, you can plug the little hole here on the. He's just so big, though. I mean, it's kind of funny because he barely stands on his stand, but this figure is just so massive in terms of the way he looks that it's intimidating. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love this. If you can find these figures, and all of them so far, I've opened up him and I've opened up the Batman figure. But if those are anything like this, I'm going to love this. I mean, he's got the zipper down the back. It's just a gorgeous figure. I highly recommend this thing. I got a killer deal. I got all 5 of these figures for, I believe it was $59 as a buy it now on eBay. If you can find these, buy them. If you like Batman, this is the best looking Bane that I really think that I've seen. So I highly, highly recommend this. So until next time, I know that this was a fairly long review. I hope you guys enjoy it. I know it's a lot of information, but I really hope you guys enjoy these because I got a couple other ones planned. So until next time, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. This is Optibotimus with Bane. I'll talk to you later.